Happy Global CE Day. Tom Judd from CED here. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, Dr. Elliot Sloane. Welcome, Elliot.
Glad to be with you, Tom. Glad to have an opportunity to celebrate the Global CE Day this year.
And Elliot, tell us about your current role and some of the 400 things that you do every day.
Well, I do wear a lot of hats. I'm the head of several nonprofit organizations, including the Health Technology Foundation and the Foundation for Living, Wellness, and Health. I'm a professor for Villanova University, and I teach e-health, m-health, and health informatics. I serve as a emeritus co-chair for integrating the healthcare enterprise, dealing with interoperability of medical records and medical devices, and also responsible for many of the aspects of cybersecurity in that area. And last but not least, I serve an ongoing role with IFMBE CED during this pandemic, supporting WHO and our colleagues with current information to help everyone fight the pandemic.
Not to mention that role as a dad and as a husband, which is pretty challenging for all of us. Pretty challenging for all of us. So, Elliot, I understand you have some strong feelings about this whole area of health technology and health technology management.
I really do. I'm astounded that here we are suddenly where health technology and health technology management is center stage for the globe. Aside from the Salk vaccine and the conquering of polio, in my career, half a century, I've not seen any period where medical technology has become the focal point of the survival of the planet. There's no place in the planet, there's no country, large or small, that isn't talking about diagnostics, therapeutics, ventilators, oxygen. We love our parents, we love our family, we love our children, we love our nation. We're all in the midst of this pandemic simultaneously. And health technology management is center stage. Whether it's the simplest thing like a mask to the most complex monoclonal antibodies that are being developed in the lab to save lives, there's never been a period where this concept of health technology management and clinical engineering is affecting everybody's life.
Elliot, you've been a global champion on one of the whole set of approaches to what you've just described in that challenge, and that is digital health and telehealth and telemedicine.
Certainly the journey to electronic medical records and the work on integrating medical devices in a way that allows the data to be put directly into the medical record for patients has been a 20, 25, 30-year journey. In fact, Dr. Casares in 1960, one of the early clinical engineers who became a physician and just passed away this year, coined the concept of clinical engineer and published books with the dream of how computers would be able to gather patients' records and help medical doctors make better decisions and create better healthcare outcomes. And here we are in 21st century. It is imperfect, it's incomplete, but we, for the first time probably, are really able to provide healthcare in either direct electronic data form or faxed or scanned records. It's an awesome enabler to allow physicians to work from home, physicians to work remotely. We're asking doctors to work round the clock during these crises periods. And they can only do that because they can see the medical records, see the medical data, and make decisions. It's an opportunity, if there's a silver lining out of the pandemic, it is the fact that the physicians and patients who perhaps a year ago would have said, I don't think I want my medical care on a screen, are now saying, I don't think I want to go to the hospital unless I really have to. I'm glad that I can have medical care on the screen, and even if it is imperfect, it's changed our mindset. And therein is a tremendous opportunity because we have so many inexpensive devices like Fitbits. We have so many smartphones with ubiquitous apps that present an opportunity for us to gather data, whether it's blood pressure, oxygen, weight, respiratory conditions, cardiac conditions, and ultimately that feeds to artificial intelligence and tools that can make the physician and nurses' jobs better and easier, and the safety and outcomes for patients much better. Now, that's probably a 20-year journey still for us to grow into. But we've made great strides in the last year in terms of coming to grips with the cultural and delivery of medical care changes that are needed to adopt these technologies. So I'm very encouraged and excited again that this has become kind of the norm. It's the new normal. I don't think anybody is going to be expecting to have to wait in a doctor's office for 45 minutes to see a doctor if they can arrange to see a doctor on their computer like this interview, or on their cell phone or smartphone or tablet, or at a kiosk at a local store or a government center. So this is really an exciting new era. And again, health technology management plays an important role because those sensors, blood pressure, oxygen, weight, all have to be accurate. If the data isn't good, we don't have any really useful results. So my work in digital health has been now some 20+ years. This is really a tipping point. And the tipping point is global. We're talking with colleagues in India. We're talking with colleagues in Bangladesh. We're talking with colleagues in Paraguay. We're talking with colleagues in France and in Africa about these innovations. We didn't have these discussions 2 years ago. These were very private silos. Now these are being published every day. I'm finding new articles on telehealth, telemedicine, and tremendous innovations.
Elliot, it occurs to me that a lot of people were listening to you when you issued that challenge last October in Rome that we better get engaged. And then COVID hit. So
and we had to kind of put some of those ideas on the back burner, but we're pursuing those ideas still today. And the challenge that I issued in Rome at our ICE HTMC, our Congress, in last fall, was that we have an opportunity to bring the devices together in a way that allows the data to be assembled to make the physician's job easier. We're not quite there. We still have, just as with instant messenger and WhatsApp, WhatsChat, we have too many different standards. So once we agree on one or two standards, we'll be able to flow the data into the system. And we're very close to being able to have a system of health that looks more like ATM or credit card or boarding passes in the aviation industry.
Elliot, while you were talking earlier, I was thinking of two things. One is that that you said the next 20 years we're going to see that. Since I turned 50 this year, plus or minus, I'm looking forward to this next 20. The other thought, though, was here's somebody that actually walks their talk. Because, when COVID struck, and I'll be specific, you said to CED, there's so much information flowing in to clinical engineers and health technology leaders around the world. What's the right stuff to listen to? So you are the driving force behind the Hacking COVID newsletter that we're about to hit number 150 weekdays. Tell us about that.
That's a very good question, Tom. As we started this pandemic, the literature in February began to balloon. And if I have a bad habit, it's that I try to read all the literature. And so sometimes I'm up all night looking at interesting articles. And I was seeing that there's so much information being published on the genomics, the proteomics, the protocols, it was too much. They call it, it's like sipping from a fire hose, and clinical engineers can't read all that literature. Clinical engineers have a very short amount of time to spend each day. So what I started to do was to curate or take out articles that seemed relevant. Who was being successful with ventilators? What kind of oxygen therapy was appropriate? What kind of diagnostic tools or kits were working? Also, what wasn't working? Which drugs were failing? And as I looked at the accumulation of these kind of tidbits of useful information, I approached you and CED and said, can't we find a place to put this? And with your support, we put this into a daily newsletter, Hacking Coronavirus. And it really is a distillation, a curation of the articles that a clinical engineer or someone in the management C-suite, Ministry of Health, the hospital administrator, information that they can use. We don't do the political or policy issues. We avoid very small studies and dreamy-eyed ideas about near magical cures. We look at hospitals, physician practices, technologies that are saving lives. And we look across the literature to India, to China, to Peru, to South Africa, because we're all learning together. This is a learning community. This is also a rather amazing opportunity for leveraging information technologies to connect us to solve problems. So hacking coronavirus now, every day we meet, every day we review articles, every day and sometimes all night, I'm sending articles into our repository, into the stack, so that we can review them and pull out a few articles each day, a few citations. The other thing that I noticed, by the way, that was really exciting is that almost all of the scientific literature dropped what we call their paywalls. It used to be if I wanted to read an article in the Annals of Medicine or the Journal of Surgery, I had to pay $1,000 a year to be a subscriber. But during coronavirus, they dropped all the paywalls and they said, this is a ubiquitous, a common cause for all of us. So this is an amazing opportunity for the entire world to share.
Your old buddies at ECRI Institute have done a wonderful job.
Friends at ECRI, where I worked for 15 years, almost immediately responded, making some of their reports and their testing methods public domain, so they could be shared around the world without penalty. They also started doing some of their own studies specifically for example, reuse of masks, areas that we really needed information. I mean, this is an all-in experience like none other that I've ever had in my life. And it's also an opportunity to enroll young engineers, young administrators, young physicians, because they're digital natives. They're excited about these technologies. They just need to help to kind of find where the information is stored.
Well,
so
Elliot,
the other part,
we need to wrap up here in a second. You know, this trickle every day, though, has fit into a big pool of information people can go find. I know it's a repository there on our website.
That's what I was going to say. Everything that we cite, we put in a repository, and hopefully at some point we will be able to take some information tools, actually read those articles with an AI technology of some sort, and be able to help answer questions. Questions that come to mind for me is which is the best a coronavirus diagnostic tool for a large country, for a small country, for a small event. Those are the kinds of things we would like to have a tool for.
9,000 people know about all this, and they get this every day, and there's over 2,000 things in the repository and growing.
Very exciting.
So what a wonderful tool. And I know you want to close and just say a word about the global community we're a part of.
Again, it goes back to this pandemic has affected all of us in our home. I don't know anybody who can't name someone in their immediate circle of family or neighbors who have either had serious coronavirus or passed away. And this is a part of the whole concept of how human cognition is. Things are only relevant when they affect us. This has affected us globally.
Yeah, all of us.
We are all wrestling with this. So we have, because of tools like WhatsApp, because of tools like Zoom, we have had an incredible opportunity with our webinars, working with WHO, working with people in France and South Africa, all over the planet, to learn from each other. So we have created a learning community in about 6 months, and it is continuing to grow and expand. And we have women and men from every discipline and from every part of the country sharing their knowledge to help solve problems. Again, it's a beautiful thing because none of us probably could have made the progress alone. If there's an outcome, and we'll know perhaps in the next 3 months, it appears that with this new wave in the fall in the Northern Hemisphere, people are again acquiring coronavirus, but the fatality rate is reducing. One might hope that we learned so much in those painful early months that we're actually treating patients better and they're surviving more and more frequently. And that's an awesome accomplishment in a very short period of time.
Well, Elliot, we're going to wrap up, but thanks for your faithfulness, brother.
Thanks for inviting me, and again, let's celebrate this Global Clinical Engineering Day. Thank you, everybody, for the hard work you're doing in your hometown and in your piece of the world to make this a better place. Together, we can make it better.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Elliot.
Tom.
Bye for now.